Hi and welcome. My name is Amy Bryant of Wild Child Counseling here in Atlanta, Georgia, and Parenting Beyond Punishment, which is an online education and support community. And I am here today with Suzanne Tucker of Generation Mindful. Suzanne is a mom and a physical therapist, and she's also the creator of the Time In Toolkit and the Peacemaker cards. And we're going to talk today about some practical and playful ways to promote social emotional learning. And we're going to use this creation that Suzanne has spent time and thought and love into. And it's something I use in my practice, and I'm really excited to be here. So thank you so much, Suzanne, for joining me to talk about this.
Thank you, Amy. We're going to have a lot of fun, I think.
I
So
think so
thanks for
too.
having me.
Yeah. So we have a few people here. If y'all want to chat with us, you can use the chat. You can also ask questions in the Q&A, and thank you for being here. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about why you created the toolkit and who it's for.
Sure. So my background, as you mentioned, is I'm a physical therapist for 2 decades, and my focus has been attachment and connection. I've been a manual therapist, really interested in holistic health. My
Mhm.
husband and I own a holistic health center. And so for me, it's about practical and playful applications for mindfulness and connection in our everyday. I feel like as a mom of four, my main struggle was being enough, knowing I'm enough, tuning in to trust myself, to apply what I know, right? And we live in this information age, and I think it's a very disempowering age, in fact, because there's so much information out there. And as I've been leading mindfulness classes, baby massage, mindful parenting, really sharing my own struggles, the things I bump up against, really I found resonated with my community. And it was really one mom about 2 years ago that inspired Generation Mindful. She said to me, one class, she said, Suzanne, I'm hearing you in my head. And I said, I'm really sorry, and she said, no, no, it's not a bad thing. I said, I was going to lose it on my child last night, like lose it. And she was implying that she was going to hit him without really wanting to hit him.
Mhm.
And she paused because she heard in her head the words, connect before you correct. So simple. So
Yeah.
simple, but everything changed for her. And, we talk a lot about that pause button in the practice of mindfulness.
Mhm.
So for me, when she shared that, and she was like, it changed everything. I got down on my knees. I looked him in the eyes. I took a breath. And you know what happened is she didn't need her class manual. She didn't need to go grab some tools. She was there, and she opened up to the brilliance that is her, and that is love, and that is her connection to her child. And they had this amazing tuck-in time at night. So with that story, she said, how do I do that more? Especially when I'm triggered, when I'm stressed. How do I help my husband? How do I help everybody on the planet do this? And that's what led me. I said, I'm going to go home and think about that. And literally, I said, well, we're just going to put it in a box, and we came up with this peacemakers idea, which is just to take it playfully into our everyday life and really retrain our brain, starting with our thoughts, that moves into our words, into our actions. And that was really the impetus for creating then the whole line of tools. And you mentioned the Time In Toolkit. And that, again, is just playful, practical applications. Instead of just saying to families, which I'm sure you do, you can move away from timeouts. Well, they're looking at you like, okay,
And
how?
what? Yeah. What do I do next? Yeah.
What do I do? And so the Time In Toolkit was to answer that question that I was constantly having with my private clients. And I was doing the same, relay of information. And I believe in empowerment education. So I don't want to tell anybody anything. I want to inspire and share, and then have people find those resources inside of them
Mhm.
via the information that they've taken in that lights them up. When something lights you up, that's for me. So the Time In Toolkit is my way of saying, hey, here are some fun things that I do that have really helped me move away from top down, control, punitive, discipline style, You can use it in your home. You can use it in the classroom.
Mhm.
And let's be a community that says, these are some tools, these are some starting points, but we know that transformation happens in community. So
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's have a toolkit. Let's get it out there. Let's start using it and let's share about it and support one another. And that's what we're doing. So,
Yes, I love it. I use it in my office, and there's a lot of reasons why I like it. It opens up conversations. It gives families language and kind of rhythms. So when you're kind of stuck in, okay, I'm not going to punish them. What am I going to do? Or, I'm not going to hit them. I'm not going to threaten them or power over them. So it helps parents and kids. Um, know what to do when things are tough. And I also like that it helps them be with emotions in ways that are helpful and that build resilience. Because we don't have that language. I mean, that language was not used with me as a child.
right. Good. But you bring up resilience and growth mindset both. And that's a big part of this work. And you also brought up, like, that's how we learn as human beings is we learn through modeling.
Right.
So the toolkit is set up for the adult brain and the child's brain because I think we're part of this awesome opportunity to change the world because we're this pivotal generation that's bringing in the next generation. And in our brain, we have the science. We don't necessarily have the skills, but we have the willing heart and we have a brain that understands. So for me, it's so easy. All we need to do is fill in that missing blank, which says, this wasn't modeled for me, but I want to learn it. So let's
Yeah.
do that. Let's model it and use it together. And then we're going to be ushering in the next generation who says, my emotions are sacred.
Mhm.
I just grew up knowing that. I mean,
Yeah.
how awesome is that? We're going to have an
Right.
entire generation of little people who don't question that they're angry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm angry. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The my emotions are sacred is like my favorite not my favorite, but I love it. It's something I am like, and let's talk about this, and I'll hold it up, and yeah, it's
yes.
so lovely. And the idea, when I was a child, we did not think that the brain was malleable, right? It was your brain's done. You stuck with what you got, right? That this is your brain on drugs commercial with the frying egg, and, right? And now we know that that's not true. Thank goodness.
It is. And brain science is at the root of everything we do. So, and I have a real
Yeah.
simple graphic I use with my community. Let's see if I can find it here. Because, see, I'm all about simple.
Yeah.
Um, and I love research, but it can get real boring. I go on some of these sites and I'm learning about sensory integration because I'm really into that and attachment. And
Yeah.
it can be really hard, even as a therapist, to get through some of that. And I feel
Yes.
like we need to really make it fun because fun and play is really how we're wired to learn. So this is
Yes.
about as technical as I like to get it.
Yes.
And it really is powerful when you look at what happens to the brain on stress. We all know what happens to the brain on stress. We go crazy, fight,
Yeah.
flight, or freeze. And then what happens to the brain in the presence of safety and connection? Human co-regulation, not self-regulation, co-regulation. We move into that safe prefrontal cortex, green part of the brain. And then there's this awesome, limbic brain, middle brain, where our toddlers love to hang out, that we can learn to understand and connect to and parent brain to brain or educate brain to brain when we stop trying to rationalize to an emotive brain, right? So
Right.
that I've been told and I know in your work, simply giving that basic understanding of the brain and how to connect brain to brain will change your life. I think not only in the way you relate to little people, but the way you relate to your own self,
Right. Yes, I think so too. And to know that about ourselves, that chart's lovely. It's so simple and freeing, right? Oh, okay. Um, we can just learn these skills right along with them. It's okay. Our brains you can teach an old dog new tricks, right? We can absolutely do this, and it's okay to learn with our children.
Yes. And this is really about shame-free. And,
Yeah,
we can say, oh, that sounds so great. Shame-free, raising a child without shame.
yeah,
Sounds so great. And then it's like, okay, so now let's do that. And for
yeah,
me, it really starts with the way I treat myself. Like, if
yeah,
my thoughts are shaming because I'm beating myself up for who I wasn't or what I didn't do, then my foundation for moving into these new things is shame. So I know I've heard it said, you do better when you know better, you do better. But even in that statement is the better.
yeah.
And I love the definition of mindfulness that says, some people say it's not being in the present moment with non-judgment, but I like to evolve it past that because for me, when I say non-judgment, I'm thinking about judgment, right? Like if I say to you, Amy, don't think about a purple elephant right now. What do you
There
think?
it is, that purple elephant.
And yeah, exactly. So we've evolved it. Mindfulness is being present in the moment with joy and ease.
Mm.
Joy and ease. So that becomes my focus. Is my own internal joy and ease. And when I move into joy and ease, scary mommy fades away, and my inner brilliance, it just comes into me. And also, when I notice that I'm not feeling joyful or ease, instead of having to now beat myself up because I fail to meet the bar, I just noticed that I'm not feeling joy. So I get to celebrate myself because I noticed, right? And so this whole thing is set up on celebrating ourselves. And
Mhm.
there's just no space for guilt. Just
Yeah,
none. I mean, you can
right,
notice it and then say, oh, look, there it is.
right,
And then you are there. Now you just notice. So now you get to
right.
celebrate that you notice.
Yes. Yes, and it's amazing how, we talk about this and how it really does rewire the brain, but there actually now are studies on the brain that show it lighting up our brain and changing it. It's really amazing.
It is, and it all happens. I love this research around dopamine. So,
Mm,
dopamine is this thing that makes you want to do more. It's about learning. So, dopamine has to do with the learning part of the brain. And when that is released, your brain says, ooh, that was nice. I think I'll do that again.
yeah.
And so, they've actually shown that we're so adaptable as human beings that even if you're doing this awesome thing every day, you will adapt and you'll become complacent and you'll expect it. So, like if you are hitting the high bar with parenting, if you're not careful, because we're so adaptable, you will adapt to that and then it will no longer live for you. If you don't start to learn how to break it down and
Mm.
celebrate in the little moments and be like, boom, I rocked, I just wiped down that counter over there. Yeah, you adapt and you think that the bar is the whole clean kitchen. And then you're
Right.
never ever getting the dopamine. And I just described my first 5 years of motherhood, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how awesome I was rocking it, I was never enough. So I'm really present to that feeling of not enoughness that I'm sure somebody out there listening can resonate with. And
Mhm.
it's just deep breath. I get really emotional because I teach baby massage. So every Friday I'm with a new circle of new parents who I know they're in that beautiful hard place of everything's new and maybe the bar is really high. So I don't know. I feel like we really need to share about shifting that away from being
Right.
more better, right? Because
Right.
we're out there, we're the educators. And I know that education can actually be a double-edged sword. It can leave you feeling less than and not enough if you're not careful.
Right. Inadequate and overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of empowered. Yes, I love that. Well, and that's what I love about this kit too, is it's so empowering. Um, and I use it with very young children and sometimes just parents, and then sometimes I review it for myself too.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. It's designed, if people are curious, it's designed for 3 to 9 year olds. We have these amazing stories coming in that blow me away with 2.5 year olds that are relating to them. And
Mm-hmm.
in their own ways. And I think that's what's awesome about tools that are open-ended,
Yes.
open-ended child-led experiences.
Mm-hmm.
They will lead and guide. And then there are tweens and teens coming at this work from their own unique place, and actually seniors, but it really is
Yeah.
intended for 3 to 9 year olds is why I created it for that level of development.
Yes. Well, tell us about it. Could you walk us through the
Yeah.
parts? Okay.
Yeah. So if you order the whole time and toolkit, you get this thing. I brought one so you know what's coming. This box, right? The big blue box we call it. And inside are lots of things. We've broken down into about 9 components. The number one component, and this is something you can just do this. You don't have to get the whole toolkit. You got one. We can play.
I have several.
Peacemakers, and this is a deck of cards for nurturing mindfulness and compassion. And it works on some really simple premises that tell us science. If you slow down, if you put everything down and there's no technology around you and you're 2 human beings locking eyes and talking, you're connecting and you're bonding and you're learning about yourself and you're learning about someone else. Super, super high tech, isn't it? But it takes something these days to slow down, to put everything down. I had one therapist tell me that one of her favorite parts is that literally you have to put everything down, you go get the cards, so it becomes a mindfulness practice just in getting the cards, shuffling the cards, and then pulling a card each day. And that's really the intention. It's built on the science of ritual and a practice, just like yoga, and making it simple and playful. So I have one deck for the adult brain in the room, and these are what I call the theme cards. And they will introduce you to the 7 themes, which run from power all the way up to forgiveness. And then there's this other deck, which is 35 cards. And this is for the child brain and actually for my brain too. Like, I love these cards.
I love them too.
I'm so glad. And you know that simple is always profound, right? So these will break these little truths down into little bite-sized nuggets. When I work with children, I call these love notes. So I went to a preschool yesterday and I was introducing this Catholic school to how do we use peacemakers in a daily playful way that the educator wanted me to come in and just set it up. So what I did, this might be helpful for people out there, is I set up our poster, which has every one of these cards on it. And you probably have it, but I also got these stickers out. And what I help the teacher do is to set it up for that the person of the day, they have a student of the day, pulls a card. And then she was 4, her name was Nora. She got to choose a way to move your body when you say those words. And the card she pulled yesterday was actually Red Bear. And he said, trees, animals, and all of nature are my friends. And the teacher said, oh my gosh, we're studying Earth Day like this whole week, so that is so awesome. And then little Nora said, I want to stomp my feet and march in a circle. So we chanted, trees and animals and all of nature are my friends. And they are 4 years old, and they did it over and over, and they had it, right? And they had it in their body. They were giggling. And I didn't do a big dissertation on Earth Day. Literally, I did not say anything other than that. And then it leaves it for the teacher to pull it back as a thread through the day. So that's how they work.
I love it.
Just 35 different openers, conversations. Can I make one point about that?
Please.
Some people in the community struggle, and I'll just tell you right up, with a wanting for more instructions, for more almost scripted dialogue. Okay, my kid pulled trees, nature, animals and all of nature are my friends. What am I supposed to tell them now? What am I supposed to teach them now? Right. And it's almost this left brain interpretation of what is learning. And so we're busting that mold up, and we are inviting you into a beautiful, crazy, silly place in your body called your right brain. And it's not always comfortable, right?
It's not comfortable all the time. We want answers and boxes and just tell me what the rules are.
And there's science around that because, if
Yeah.
we were raised in an environment where emotions were not necessarily the safest thing, we were not wiring the neurosynapses around that part of the brain. We start to gravitate to logic and reason. And
Right.
this is a large part of the repatterning of my own brain and the parents in my classes.
Yeah.
So, but I want you to know that I'm not throwing you out to the wolves. I do have a list of ideas that come in the
Yeah.
kit and some prompts, some visuals, and lots of other things. This just comes in the card. So even if you don't get the toolkit.
Yeah.
But I'm listening, and I know I could be doing a better job holding your hand there. So I personally am a visual learner, and I right now am collecting data, real videos, real pictures of our community out in the
How it's
world
being done.
generating. And we're going to create a one single page on our website. So if you're like me and you're like, okay, this is fun, but how? And
Yeah.
you need it visually, you can just click, 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 and take it in.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's that modeling that we are
Yeah.
looking for. We're looking for that. So
I did a parent chat, I guess, earlier this year, and I took in the Peacemaker cards, and I had every parent there. There were maybe 11 or 12 of us. Take a card, and I said, "There's no, don't look. Just take a card. We'll go around the circle, and when you turn it over, just share what it says and what it means to you." And some of them were like, kind of like your experience. They were like, "Oh my gosh, it's Earth Day and I got this great," or "This is my child's favorite animal." And some people were like, I mean, one woman teared up and was like, "I feel like this is just reminding me to slow down and to be present." And, it was lovely. And so
I love it. I love
that's
it.
what we talked about.
Yeah, we need these little rituals in our life that are simple and profound because they take us to this very still, fun, simple place, and we all have it. And people talk about mindfulness, and it can be difficult to set aside 5 minutes to breathe and do nothing. But
Yeah.
I like to let people know that mindfulness is really being present in the moment with joy and ease. So guess what? Kids are very mindful, and if you just follow their lead, they'll take you there, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to look like you're that meditator sitting with crisscross on the top of a mountain somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big fan of yin yoga. Um, Mindfulness for me is living in the little moments, and that's why that's our tagline. We
Yes.
living in the little moments. For me, that's what it's all about. So, like, how do I go there when my brain is going like this, and I'm
Mhm.
a thinker and I'm a multitasker because I am.
Right.
So,
Well, the other thing I like about this kit is we don't have to be the experts. We
that's
can say, what does this mean to you? You
Yeah,
know?
and even that was confronting from a mom I heard from yesterday. She said she pulled Silly Fox, who
Oh,
freaks
yeah.
a lot of parents out, right? Because he is so
Yes.
silly. He's probably the most left brain of all of our characters. And he said, sing a song, let's sing, something like that. Or it might have been either Silly Fox or Dolphin, because Dolphin does a lot around the throat and
Yeah.
communication and peace. But I want to say it was Silly Fox who was saying, let's sing a song. And she just said, I can't ask my kid, what do you think about that? And so I just sat with it and I thought, you're right. You could sing, and the opening there, it may seem so obvious, but it's not. And that's what we need to understand is these cards will meet you wherever you are. I
Mhm.
cannot promise they'll be comfortable, but they
Right.
will be openers and they will bring you closer. And what I love is when people do write to me. So what I wrote back was just see if when you get it next time, if you sing and relate with your child in his silliness, which happened to be the main issue she was experiencing, that the silliness is disruptive.
Right.
Um, so the invitation was, we'll move into the silliness in this appropriate way and see if that helps channel that energy that maybe
Right.
is needing an outlet. Maybe this
Yes.
silliness is an invitation. So, and then I said, and then you know what? You can ask, what do you think of that? After you break out in Sound of Music with your little head,
Yeah.
you say, what did you think about that? And you tickle and you hug. And he might say, oh no. I mean, he might say, that is the most fun thing we did all day, or
Right.
who knows, but it's
Right.
whatever he says will be perfect.
Right. It's so interesting how often the card you'll pull one and it'll mean something that's going on, and you'll go, "Oh, this is." I did forget to be silly. That it's okay to be silly and to have fun, or sometimes I don't want to be silly, and that's okay too.
Yeah, it can be a reminder of like, life's not feeling really silly right now. And that's
Yeah,
okay too. Yeah, and that's
right,
how mantras work. People think positive affirmations work by here you have this thing that you can't be with, so we're going to just pave over it and pave over it and pave
no,
over it until we don't see it anymore. And
yeah,
that is actually false. They don't work that way. Where
right,
they work is you say, here's this thing, and then here's this mantra that bumps up against that thing. So maybe this says, I'm a leader, and I don't feel like a leader.
yeah,
Now my mantra is in action because it's vibrating the memories and the moments in me that say, no, you're not a leader. And that gives
right,
me an opening to heal this belief system that tells me I am not a leader. And then over here, I have this truth that I am a leader. So it's the rub. It's the
yes.
rub that we're opening, and it's an opening. So, and I mean, and that's how it works. And
Mhm.
yeah,
And it's not always comfortable. Feelings aren't always comfortable. I love your explanation for why.
yeah.
If they weren't safe for us, they're not going to feel safe until we begin to sit with them. It's like when kids say they're bored and they're so uncomfortable with that boredom, fix it, fix it.
So
And how do
true.
we
Oh,
help
I
them
used to
quit
say,
that?
"Oh yeah, bored." That's a great place to be in your brain because then you just that's also like this landing pad of all
Hmm.
possibilities. When you hit that
Yes.
board, cool. It's like hang out there for a little bit.
Right.
Something really creative is just about to come around the bend. And then I
Right.
would also let them know that boredom is a state of mind. It's not an actuality around you. Like it's not that there's nothing happening. It's literally it's a state in the brain. And that would always bring it back to my child who would want to resist that. They wanted
Oh,
boredom to be
yes.
a state of being because of the circumstances of my life. And we
Right.
have a lot of those deep conversations with 4 or 5 year olds around that. And that's where emotional
Yeah.
intelligence happens is in those little conversations.
Right. Right. Oh, I love it. So, what are some more ways people are creating calm and connection using? Oh, we didn't finish going through the kit
Yeah, we
parts,
can
did
do
we?
it. So that's like the first opportunity. And
Yeah.
then you get a number of posters, you get the stickers I showed you, and you get a manual, a digital manual that we're actually getting some of that manual right into the box for people because I want to be holding your hand the second you open your box.
Yeah.
And my community said to me, I didn't know where my manual was. I had a moment of like heart palpitations, and I don't want anybody having heart palpitations. So you will have the digital manual in your inbox, and it comes to you before you open your box, so you can kind of get familiar and read about it philosophically and playfully. And then it comes with printables, so that
Hmm.
see some of the things we're doing are activities. I didn't bring the like my mistake sheet, but there's a worksheet. There's a number of worksheets in there, and you're going to want to print it again and again and again. You might even have
Hmm.
one. Um,
Oh, I
but
have one.
yeah, so printables are actually a gift because, like, if you're a teacher, you're going to want to have 20 of those for your classroom. Yeah, there she is. So yeah, what happened, how I felt, what I thought,
Yeah.
said, did, and then what I learned and what I want to do next time.
It's
That's
so
something
lovely.
you're going to do again and again. And so this is an activity mat. We're
Yes.
going to turn this into an activity mat. And Amy, this is evolving. I'm
Yes.
actually going to include little cards for the 32 feelings that we explore, the 12 calming strategies,
Uh-huh.
and then the child is going to have a little sticky tab or Velcro, whatever you want to do. And when they're in their moment and they've already gotten in their body again, and they're
Hmm.
wanting to go a little deeper, either with you or on their own, they can go to this activity mat and start putting cards to their experience. If the child, like some people say to me, they're going to tear it up, they're going to rip it away, they're going to, no, they won't, because you're never going to put a red brained child who's fight, flight, or freezing in that situation.
Right.
If you're following the time in way, you're going to understand that this is not a glorified timeout. This isn't a punishment or a place to put you when you're bad or did something wrong. We're there to co regulate, get them feeling safe, because no learning can happen until they're that feeling safe. So
Yes.
there's that human interaction part that doesn't come in the kit, right? That's
Right.
you. And then when they're in that yellow emotive brain, what the science tells us, name it to tame it, feel it to heal it, we have the surroundings that the child is comfortable in because you've been doing this work when they're not in their yellow brain. You've
Yes.
been doing this. So when they are in their yellow brain, we have children that are self-aware, having these moments where they're like, Mommy, I'm not feeling so good. I want to go take a time in. I had a little girl, I think she was 3 or 4, go over at dinner time and say she needed a time in.
Mm-hmm.
Went over, did her little regulation, her favorite one, and then came back and said she felt better.
Yes.
And so they're going to be using it self-directed with intrinsic motivation to go over. And this is just the newest update of our calming strategy poster. And then there's another big poster which has all the cards on it. And there's a lot. And then in the background, you'll see this poster here has all 32 feeling faces.
Mm-hmm. So lovely.
And there's some other things here. This one right here is the 4 steps to take. So visually, calming down for a child can be so simple. It's those 4 steps. So, for me, it helps me to anchor my brain like, okay, I'm here. What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And if I've been practicing something, odds are I'm going to slip into that routine much easier when it's been broken down and practiced.
Yes. And it's really about learning to be in that feeling without making the feeling go away.
It is. Some people, I think, come to this and think that like the red brain is bad, like let's look at this again. Like that maybe when my child is over here in the not feeling pleasant, so red and blue don't feel pleasant in the body, yellow and green do feel pleasant in the body. Some people might think at first look that these are good and these are bad, but the truth is they're all amazing and their ways of feeling and their data. And a child who understands a non-pleasant feeling in their body is a alert. Simply, it's an alert system to information coming in from the outer world. Is now a safer child who has a voice and can say, no, or I don't like that, or I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah, that awareness is everything. It's what puts us or lets us know really that we're in our thinking brain because we're suddenly aware, oh, this doesn't feel good, or this does feel good, or this feels so good that I might run out of the room feeling so good.
Exactly. And it also, we have boundaries and we have strategies where we can connect and redirect children that don't need to lean into punitive or power struggles. And what parents will find, particularly with strong-willed children, is these not only are respectful, but they work better. So I have 4 children. One, what I would classically say is your typical strong-willed child. And I've learned the most about myself through parenting her. And my other children have all benefited from my evolution of strategies. And they're so profoundly effective with her, and I would say all children. But you won't notice that your strategies aren't effective necessarily with a cooperative nature child. You'll think, I'm just rocking it, like with this, whatever I'm doing. And, especially like punitive or top-down stuff, because if you're only looking at behavior as your litmus test, that's a compliant child. So you're getting the behavior you want. So you think, it's not broken, don't fix it. But, where things come up is when we look at growth mindset, self-esteem, self-expression, self-love. Those are our goals. We're in it for the long game, not the short-term game. So the short-term game says, do what I say, and if they did it, then I won. And the long game says, how does that feel in your body? And it respects that you didn't like that. And so now we're having a conversation like 2 human beings.
Yes. Well, and some of the non-behavioral, the more somatic things that we see in children who are struggling, including compliant children, are being very quiet in class or at home, not stirring up trouble, not being willing to say no. They may have stomach aches or headaches. They may sleep a lot, and these things are as big of a red flag as the child who's yelling back at you or flipping a table over or digging in
Exactly.
and saying no and screaming.
You got it. And we want to serve all these children.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it's that other child that you mentioned that it's not till they're 20 that we're understanding what was happening to your forming brain in those
Yeah.
moments and what was your inner experience. And now, with everything we know about trauma and the brain and the way we process and really regulation, we're able to take that knowledge practically and playfully in everyday life. So
Yes.
I think we went through a lot of the calming corner. I made a makeshift. I want people to know it's not hard. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like literally, this is my bedroom. I just pulled in my cozy little carpet, a little fluffy tuffy there, and I put tape, and that's right up on my wall. And if you have frames that will keep the life of them a little bit longer, and we've sized everything to work with IKEA frames.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah,
Smart.
so you can go and get pretty cheap. I think this
I,
frame is $2. This frame was.
yeah, that's awesome. I had mine covered in plastic. What do you call that?
Yeah,
I
lamination.
had it laminated at a local place because I needed to be able to fit in my bag and take with me.
That's
And
perfect.
that's
And
worked
that
really well
version you
too.
have there was the version up until literally yesterday. And so
Yes.
show your friends that they'll see what we did was we evolved it. So I had the my moods, the my feelings, and then we had a whole separate poster for the four main feeling faces. And then what we did was we put that all together
Nice.
so that so some people were getting confused about why were there two mood feeling, and I just wanted them to understand the four main categories and that those categories or those colors stand for these things, but there's a lot of different ways to feel pleasant and high energy. So we're just getting,
Yes.
there's not only 32, there's a lot more.
Right.
But anyway, we just sort of we're learning through you
I
guys.
love it.
Yeah.
I really love it. I mean, that's how it's all a learning process. So,
I did. What else? I'm trying to think. I think I presented the toolkit. It's that's the digital,
yeah.
the printables, the stickers, the cards, and the posters.
Yeah.
Community is really what
Yes.
it is.
I mean, so you get this box. She showed you the blue box, and it says what it is. And I distinctly remember seeing it on the front porch, like when I pulled up in my driveway, and I was like, "Oh!" I was so
Yeah,
excited.
that's the exact feeling I want. And so we just keep making the unboxing. I'm
Yeah.
actually adding little sticky squares in there now. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
anything that's not intuitive to you.
Yeah.
I want to smooth that out so that
Yes.
the total body experience in your body is I got this. I
Yes.
I so got this. So
Yes. And that I mean, there were things I left in the kit because I got so excited. Like, I was so excited about some things, I just focused on them. And then I was like, okay, let me see what else there is.
yeah, go back to it. And I
Yeah.
tell people like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's one of my favorite lines. So this is nothing less than a beautiful pink elephant who's coming to live in your home. It's a big undertaking to think about transitioning the very way you interrelate with other people, particularly if it is discipline and children. So please remember, this is a set of tools that unfolds.
Yeah.
Be patient and gentle with yourself and
Right.
just do those little bites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told some of my clients who ordered it, I was like, I want you to enjoy it. And so if that means the first thing you do to enjoy it is to order it and then you just leave it, it's okay. Or you could bring it in, we'll explore it together, or just find one thing.
Exactly. It's like baby wearing for me at least. I got this sling and then I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, somebody lent me their double ring sling and it was so soft and I was like, okay, I got this. And then they showed me and then I did it wrong and then I went back and they showed me again and then I was like, ooh, I'm drinking coffee and my hands are free. So I had that dopamine hit with like, that's working for me.
Yeah.
And then I built on that until I was like rocking it and wearing my baby and, I could
Oh my
flip them
gosh.
around, do cartwheels,
Right?
so
That
it's like
was,
anything. Give it
yes.
some time.
Yes. I love that. Um, trying to think about what we want to talk about in our last 12 minutes.
I
Um,
did. You mentioned sharing stories because I think storytelling is so powerful. You mentioned, like, did I have any, shares from the community? I did. I
yes.
did play. I do have three that I think are really sweet to
Do,
share.
yes, that would be
Can you share
lovely.
them? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to do a screen share.
Okay.
See if I can share my desktop, and then I will escape. Okay. So put this guy down here. All right. We want to put that down here. All right, here they are. So this little
Oh,
lady,
so cute.
she was the 3-year-old I was just telling you about,
Uh-huh.
and her mom said that she's just turned 3, was having a meltdown at dinner because she didn't have her toys at the dinner table. Before we even had a chance to respond, she said, "Can I take a time in? I want to calm down." And then she did, and she returned to the dinner table in 5 minutes, happy as a
Oh
clam.
my gosh.
So I mean,
So
and there's her
sweet.
little space, and
Yes.
that's so empowering to
Hmm.
just go self-regulate, and to be able to communicate those things. And then
Yes.
this little one is a daycare, and Amy, who's the owner, she sent in this picture, and she said there were 2 boys. They actually built this structure right here,
Uh-huh.
and then one boy walked away to go grab some airplanes because this was an airplane control center.
Oh,
And when he came back, the other boy had started to redesign the airplane center, and there was this big, huge emotional breakdown. And so they wanted to go over, self-directed, over to their common corner and figure it out. And she said they went over there, and here's her story. Um, the the one who had, not who had it changed felt sad, but the one who had done the changing felt sad too. And they were both able to say that they felt sad. And then they were both able to say that next time I would let you know when I was coming back, when I went to get my airplanes. And the other one said that next time I would ask you before I went ahead and made changes. So here they are, maybe 4 years old, talking it out, and she used child-led conversations.
mm-hmm.
And then the one friend said, "How can I help?" And the
Mm-hmm.
other friends asked for a hug. So they hugged, and they said that made them feel happy and safe again. And then they went off to play.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's like it's collaborative problem solving,
It
you
is,
know?
yes. And it's a space for that. And I think there
Yes.
was maybe one other one. Let's see if I can find it here. Of this little sweetie. So this little sweetie had some trauma. She had
Mm-hmm.
had an accident at age 2 with with a lot of health side effects.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom said that she had been this vivacious, outgoing child who it was hurting her so much to see her just turn within and be scared of everything. And so the mom realized that she wanted to make some changes in herself so that
Mm-hmm.
she could be there for her child. So she started doing yoga and self-empowerment, and she came across the Time and Toolkit, and she set up the calming corner in the house, and they stopped doing timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that that they just really dived into making emotions safe.
Oh,
In the
nice.
past, they hadn't been. She had judged them as right or wrong.
Right.
And that after just several months, Lila said, "Mommy, I'm not scared anymore." Just one day was
Oh,
outside in the sun, and just in her own body was feeling safe,
wow.
able to just share that with her
That's
mom. And
amazing.
so I think that it lives in the results that people are creating, this set of tools.
Yes. Yes. And it speaks to parents' fears around not punishing. Like, well, what do you mean don't give them a timeout? Right? That,
It's a big fear. People think that positive or restorative discipline they fear it will be permissive. And I like to
right.
bottom line it like this: positive parenting is firm and respectful. We will give you tools to lead and guide. This is not about your child leading and guiding. You are
Yeah.
leading and guiding. So it is firm and it is respectful and it's predictable, which helps the
Hmm.
child's brain. It's just not shame based or punitive.
Right.
It just doesn't need to lean into fear to
Yes.
control. That's the main difference. permissive parenting is not firm. It lacks direction. It's not necessarily predictable, and it is often respectful in that there's some kindness or there's some tolerance or acceptance. But sometimes what's missing is the learning.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this autocratic, which is top down, and then there's permissive over here, and we're hitting that middle ground. And that's not always easy to do, and that's why we have tools and support to do it. So.
Right. Well, and oftentimes it's reparenting ourselves because we're like, I don't even know what to do. Right. And so
Very
we're
much
figuring
so.
it out and we're getting rhythms and tools and support along the way.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, yeah. Um, so we're almost out of time. Uh, People are using this all over the world.
Mhm.
I know you shared some stories about finding very young children and some adolescents and older people using it. What else has surprised you?
I think the thing that has surprised me most has been the acceptance of the time and toolkit across the board with very differing settings and very different people. I actually have people who, so we are part of an initiative that talks about spanking, right? That
Right.
stop spanking and education around that. There's something about this conversation that is accessible that feels non-threatening, I think. So
Yeah.
that if you are currently using timeouts and or spanking, that there's a place that can feel really comfortable to start with this. And I think that's been the biggest surprise is that it's embraced just a big diverse group of people in a very accessible way. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's the power of the positive conversation of what we want to create. I don't hang out a lot in telling you what I don't want, right? Or what we're not doing here. So people are left to kind of piece that together. And I've had some people tell me that they were actively spanking or they were, actively using timeouts and that they were able to sort of training wheel over to,
Yeah.
for the first time, not feeling like they needed to do that. And that's been the biggest surprise, I think, and
Right.
neat thing.
It's so neat. And it makes sense because it is empowering. Here's something to support you and your child. Um,
Yeah, I think that it's easy for us to shame ourselves when we
yeah.
hear something that we know makes sense, or maybe it's based in research, but it's not hard. It's hard. It's not easy,
Right.
and so
Right.
it's really important that we let go of the shame. And
Yes.
then I have one fun thing, surprise to share with
Yeah.
you. So this will be the first time I've shown these. We're turning them into a plush toy line.
Oh my gosh.
And these little guys, I introduced them to the preschool yesterday. There's 7 of them.
Uh-huh.
They're called our Snuggle Buddies. At least that's the working title.
Oh my
And the
God.
intention is to share our thoughts and our feelings. So in the back is going to be this pocket, which I'm still designing. But there's going to be little, I call these storytellers. And they live inside each animal. And they parallel the 4 colors of the moods, right? So the green, the yellow, the red and the blue, and they are shaped. So like this would be the blue feeling, the sad,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then at night the child will be encouraged to share their memories from the day for each one of the 4 categories.
Wow.
So we're wiring the limbic brain.
Hmm.
We created this off the ritual I have with my kids. We called it Happy Sad Surprise. So every night, since my little guys could talk, my twins are now 8. We do what was your happy sad surprise from the day, and so we just evolved it to include all 4 of the moods. And
I love that. I'm gonna do that with my daughter tonight.
yeah,
Although not with that without the owls.
yeah, do the happy sad surprise. You really don't need anything. There's
No.
a little
Oh, they're beautiful. Look at those.
fun guys, and we got all 7 of them here. But
Oh my gosh, those are beautiful.
I'm really excited about these guys.
Oh,
So
oh my
and
gosh.
that thing is that it's tactile, and I really want to move into
Yes.
more fun things to help you outfit. So here's your time and tool
Yeah.
space. These will be perfect for there. And then I
Yes.
have an idea that we're going to make a stress ball squeezy out of the
Yeah.
animals too. So you
That's a great idea. That sensory
yeah,
input for really getting us into our bodies.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
love it. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this conference, the whole thing, for the whole entire month-long experience people are having, and just for celebrating this with me. It's really fun to talk about.
Oh, I love it. I love to talk about it, write about it, share it. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here and
Thanks so
just
much.
doing this work to empower
It's
people.
my great joy.
Yeah.
Great joy.